In July, over 79,000 residential customers saw a 5 to 50% reduction in their monthly bill under the ERA compared to pre-ERA tariff. In August, over 78,000 residential customers saw a 5 to 50% reduction in their monthly bill under the ERA compared to pre-ERA tariff. The Davis administration is working. Our energy transformation is a journey, and we are dedicated to achieving positive and meaningful lasting results. (2,050 Bahamian households disconnected without power). The Ministry of Energy and Transport is partnering with BPL to address this challenge. We are pleased to officially announce the Merry and Bright Turn On Your Lights Holiday Reconnection Program. Between the 1st of November 2024 and the 31st January 2025, disconnected residential customers can pay as little as 10% of their outstanding balances to have their electricity turned on and reconnected. For the remaining balance, BPL is offering flexible payment terms that allow these customers to repay BPL on favorable terms.
A customer service representative will meet each customer to review their outstanding balance and current situation, offering the most favorable repayment option available. We anticipate that most customers will be able to pay off their balances within 6 months. This means they can be in good standing with BPL before the peak summer period of 2025, clearing their previous debts. Once the 10% down payment is made and repayment terms are settled, we expect to reconnect electricity for these customers on the same day or the following day. There may be exceptions, however, for those whose services have been disconnected for more than 6 months, as these cases will require a meter inspection to ensure safety.
The Office of the Prime Minister Press Office is the primary liaison between the Fourth Estate and the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Every day, we are working to build a more inclusive economy and a stronger, safer country.
Hear all of the latest developments as the Davis administration carries out the broad mandate of progress and change. Our live weekly press briefings provide full access to current newsmakers on the most topical issues of the day. We facilitate prompt responses from cabinet ministers on the latest reports and get answers on the issues that matter to you.
Will any penalties be levied against the...
OPM Press Now, keeping you in the know.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing on a Tuesday, rather than our usual Thursday time. But nonetheless, it's good to see all of you, and a special welcome to those joining us online as well. Today, we are very happy to see in this forum the Minister of Public Works, the Honorable Clay Sweeting. He will be giving us an update today on the myriad of issues or areas in his very broad portfolio as Minister of Works. We'll talk a little bit about road works, which are ongoing throughout the Bahamas, as well as what's being done to alleviate flooding wherever it exists in the Bahamas. We'll also talk a little bit about developments related to shanty towns and a little bit about his work in local government and new advancements there. Please welcome Minister of Works, the Honorable Clay Sweeting. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I would first like to take this opportunity and thank the press for coming out today as we look to update you on the ongoing efforts of the Ministry of Works and Family and Affairs as we continue to improve infrastructure and enhance the quality of life across our nation. Also recognize Acting Director of Works, Mr. Moses. Today, we'd like to provide a brief report while we have a lot of going projects at the Ministry of Works I'll speak to these critical initiatives across flood mitigation, road maintenance, infrastructure development, and our commitment to both New Providence and the Family Islands. Throughout the Bahamas, we have several civil, design, and structural improvement projects that are being carried out to upgrade public infrastructure. These include road works and drainage systems. And as we move closer to completing many of these projects, an aggressive approach to improving the services for all residents are ongoing. When we look at flood mitigation and road maintenance, we continue to make flood mitigation a key priority. A significant initiative is the New Providence Drainage Culvert Rehabilitation Project, which has targeted the east downtown area with more than a dozen drains cleaned and repaired, significantly improving water flow and reducing the risk of flooding. This work was critical to easing the impact of flooding in this area. However, despite these improvements, and after the last downpour, some areas such as East Bay Street and Doswell Street still experience some flooding. So our teams are working to assess additional measures to address these areas, which remain vulnerable to flooding. But if you would notice that even with the large amount of rain, the areas drain and the water subside very quickly. We are continuing to ensure that roadworks throughout the capital are addressed. The teams are working relentlessly to address these issues, as with the constant rains over the past few weeks, more potholes has emerged throughout the island. We have also improved surveillance by adding additional manpower to the pothole digital section to address the concerns and ensure that the pothole patching teams within the respective zones are notified and the issues remediated. When I last spoke from the podium several months ago in March, I provided an extensive list of roads that were paved from January to that time. Since then, or within the past 3 months, we have added to that list. So let me just pause here to thank the teams at the Ministry of Works for their continuous efforts and to congratulate them for getting the job done despite the challenges. Road paving has been carried out on the following roads: critical sections of Carmichael Road and Cowpen Road, Winity Road, Washington Street, Ida Street, Jubilee Boulevard, Venria Avenue, Vendel Drive, William Street, eastbound lanes, Antonique William Darling Highway, critical section of Eastern Road, Simpson Penn Center for Boys, Temple Christian School, Palm Tree Avenue, Pink Crows Off on Bellet Road, Prison Parking Lot, Rock Crusher Road, overlay section of Gladstone Road, Royal Bahamas Defense Force Base section of Prince Charles, where we had the rupture of the water main, section of East Bay Street, and Augusta Street. And I will say in the next few weeks you will see Coral Harbor, which has had a lot of complaints in that area. You'll see that with an overlay as we look to not only pave the area, but look at some drainage solutions there as well. Again, I would like to reiterate that the cost has not increased, and the total funding as noted in December remains at the $98,210,000, including VAT, and that's for New Providence alone. And the Family Islands still also need road repairs as well. When we speak about potholes, this was and is an issue for Bahamian drivers. You look at social media, you can see a lot of complaints. As I spoke earlier, you look at the extensive rain and weather patterns, which has caused the ministry and the pothole contractors to redo potholes that was fixed prior to the weather. So the ministry is looking at newer technologies to improve not just on our infrastructure, but on the pothole patching program. So this material, which is an overlay over the hot patch material, would hope to be utilized to decrease water infiltration and for the potholes to last longer. So this product is tested currently in the US and in the UK, and we will be running a testing pilot program in the next few weeks to see whether or not this material is feasible and can be used in our climate. When we look at the Family Islands also needs infrastructure development, and we remain focused on them as well. Ongoing projects are designed to meet the unique needs of these islands and these communities. No matter where residents live, we are committed to providing the same level of infrastructure and amenities across all islands. Family islands that have extensive road repairs include Andros, where the Red Bay settlements is 16.5 miles of road, which is 86% completed with a final completion date of November of this year. Long Island, where they've paved over 5 miles of road, mainly in the north from Stella Maris Airport to Seymour's. Paving works in that area is now completed with only striping works remaining. But if you see, Long Island is also, in Long Island, the Rowdy Boys is also paving some of the side roads that does not have any road paving for some time. Abaco, Palace King Shores, which is approximately 2 miles of road, of 95% completed with only the striping works remaining. And we expect the same to be completed by end of November 2024. Projects that are ongoing or in the pipeline in other family islands include Central and South Andros, where they are starting to pave in areas in South Andros, Central and South Eleuthero, where they've already paved 3 communities there, Crooked Island, Grand Bahama, Great Arbor Key, Exuma, Cat Island, and Central Eleuthero, where the public-private partnership works along with water and sewage to also fix some of the water issues there. These initiatives reflect the ministry's ongoing efforts to address both immediate and long-term needs. When we look at building enhancements, the Thomas A. Robinson Stadium, Phase 2 will begin, which has began in May 2024, continues. We hope to have that completed by end of next year. The Betty Kelly Canning Aquatic Center repairs. For the first time in 20 years, major repairs were completed there at this center. Solar lighting and CCTV installation at the Ministry of Works and Family and Affairs were successfully installed this year. Summer Winds Plaza, which is a project for the Road Traffic Department for their new relocation. This involved a full renovation to accommodate the relocation of the Road Traffic Department, covering all major engineering disciplines. Government House residence and administration, LPIA Fire Station refurbishment, the Governor's Harbor landside redevelopment, with the final electrical inspections and trench work are ongoing, with generation testing to follow and paving of the parking lot and the driveway. The new by Cat Island Airport progress is moving steadily, and the Ragged Island Multipurpose Center, this project is expected to be 100% completed by December 15th of this year. When we look at local government, the local government team has done a phenomenal job this year. Every regatta and homecoming held so far is a tremendous success, with nearly 20 regattas and homecoming festivals annually across multiple islands. The efforts are especially significant now that sailing has been declared our national sport. Looking ahead, the much anticipated Best of the Best regatta will take place from December 5th to December 8th. In addition, the construction of sloops for schools is progressing well, which will further promote sailing among our youth. Just last week, local government junior council elections were held across the country, and the swearing-in of elected junior councils will take place between October 28th and November 1st. This year, 40 schools are participating in the junior councils, representing 266 junior councilors across the Bahamas. As we look to the future, we are preparing to take amendments to the Local Government Act in Parliament next week, and our Family Island administrators are actively leading initiatives in Disaster Risk Management, Youth Month, Public Service Week, and Senior Citizens Week within their respective districts. I'd like to speak briefly about shantytown demolition and illegal structures. The government continues with its mandate to improve the standard of living and reduce the level of unplanned developments throughout this country. Our efforts to eliminate illegal settlements continue, with substantial progress being made. The Unregulated Communities Action Task Force, in collaboration with the Building Controls Division at the Ministry of Works and Family and Affairs, has identified more than 25 unregulated communities across New Providence and the Family Islands. These include 13 in New Providence, 4 in Abaco, 4 in Eleuthero, 1 in Andros, and 3 in Grand Bahama. Now, I must reiterate that this initiative is not just about reclaiming land, but also about ensuring orderly development, protecting health, public health and safety, and preventing strain on infrastructure. The ministry is working closely with community stakeholders to ensure that the process is carried out lawfully and transparently. When we look at the ongoing projects, the Bahamas Building Code revision with the fourth edition of the Bahamas Building Code is nearly completion with the final technical issues resolved as of October 1st, 2024. The draft is expected by the end of December, with internal revenue and public stakeholder consultations scheduled for the first quarter of 2025. Full implementation, including legislative adjustments and institutional strengthening, is anticipated by the end of the third quarter 2025. Amendments to the Building Regulation Act, third-party inspector. A proposed amendment will introduce independent inspectors, registered architects, and engineers to assist with inspections. This will allow for more flexibility in inspection times, including after hours and weekends, benefiting developers and ensuring that construction is done much quickly. This initiative is currently under review by the AG's office. Lastly, when I speak about digitization, the ministry has partnered with DTU, and within the next 2 weeks, we'll be launching digital applications through the My Gateway portal to contribute to the ease of doing business within the Bahamas. Applicants will be able to apply for building inspections, volatile permits, plumbing and electrical inspection, and more on the digital platform as we remain committed to our commitment to expedite and set the timelines for the approval of building permits to stimulate economic development. Lastly, I would also like to announce that shortly you would see an RFP go out for tech developers to create a geotag advanced drainage and mapping app that would help the ministry keep better track of the persons who clean the drains and in turn assist with drainage solutions. We have a lot of complaints about areas in drainage and persons stating that certain areas of drains hasn't been cleaned in some time. So this app would help to collaborate, bring everything together so the ministry would be able to see from a central location persons' drains that have been cleaned, when they have been cleaned, so that we can better collaborate and ensure that at least areas where they're not low-lying, where drainage is an issue, that we could correct that problem. So as we move forward, we remain focused on building a more resilient Bahamas. We thank you for your patience and support as we continue to make strides in infrastructure development. Together, we are shaping a stronger future for our islands. I thank you, and God bless the Bahamas. Any questions? Want me to do questions now, right? Yeah.
Joshua Williams.
They say Josh.
A lot of people, in terms of the potholes, they're aware that there's some sort of way they can be compensated if their cars are damaged by the ministry. Is there a process for that? Can you explain that at the time frame?
Well, right. So there are persons that have complained about that. Persons do make applications to the ministry, and then the legal department would deal with it. And some persons, depending on whether the issue was because of the roads or not, but we do have a lot of potholes in the country, and I'm sure we had a lot of rims being bent, and I'm sure it'd be an excessive amount of claims, but the legal department would review it and then we'd move on from there.
In terms of shanty towns, you saw the Tiwa Shanty Town on Carpenter Road about 3 weeks ago begin pre-demolition exercises. When can we expect that to be finished?
I think within the next 2 weeks you should see some more movement there. I will add that nationally we have demolished over 500 places across New Providence, Eleuthera, as well as Abaco, and we'll continue with that. So T-Wash we will complete that within the next 2 weeks.
I just wanted to, I don't remember the last update on Gladstone Road specifically, but where are we on that?
Right, so the ministry had some queries of a large business that was on the area that wanted us to redo one area because of traffic management, which they're working on now. I think that we're almost to 100% completed on the plans. And like I stated, once that is done, and whether it's a PPP arrangement or some type of loan guarantee, then we'll get moving on it. It was never included in the budget, but the technical work around it is completed, and we hope to, once finance approves, then we can find a way to start the work on that project.
I know you mentioned the building codes, but the Contractors Act, I think, is being amended as well.
Yeah, right.
Any
So both of those are working simultaneously. One of those, the building codes, is further than the other, but we're also looking at that as well. I don't have a timeline on that, but I know that the Building Contractors Association has been leveraging to ensure that we get moving on that. So we are looking at that, and hopefully we'll be able to set a timeline on that shortly.
Mr. Devontae here from ZNS. Wanted to get a little bit more insight into the amendments to the building codes. What would that look like?
Right. So the driving force behind this was, of course, Hurricane Dorian, and we've seen the devastation there. But the building code, in regards to that, would take into account what structures would look like. I spoke about this earlier, that I think it needs to be a compensation between the two to ensure that the homes are brought up to code, to ensure if we have storms that they withstand the storms like Dorian, but also that we don't, the codes are not out of touch for persons who want to build homes where the homes are so costly that they can't afford the homes. So I think that's a balance that we're looking at to ensure. But of course, it'd be strengthening, some of the homes and how they're built, maybe in low-lying areas, that we ensure that they're built so high to ensure that their flooding arises. So it's a combination of so many different aspects. But I think at the end of the day, it would benefit all of us. I would like to add to, when we look at the Shantytown issue, that Dorian, I think, sometimes we have some opposition to the Shantytown demolition, why for the most part, I think nationally Bahamians are happy with how we're addressing that. But Dorian was a perfect model of how shantytowns can devastate our country, not just in regards to building code, but with lives lost. So building code is there for a reason, and the approvals that the Ministry of Works given us there for a reason. So if we, Lord God forbid, we have another Dorian, that we don't have a lot of devastation in regard to lives lost because we didn't do what we're supposed to be doing now.
All right, thank you. I also wanted to ask a little bit about airports. I know it doesn't fall directly under your portfolio, but is there an update on the airports in Grand Bahama, Exuma, and Long Island?
Right. I wouldn't be able to provide, we just provide the technical expertise for those. So you would have to speak to the minister responsible. I'm sure he could give you a proper update on the progression they've made. But for the Ministry of Works, we provide the technical, the inspections, and all of that.
So at this point, the Ministry of Works has not provided any technical opinions on any of those airports?
No. We have, but what I'm trying to say is that we are not intricately involved on construction dates or the movement in that regard, because it's driven by the Ministry of Aviation and that. But we've constantly worked with them. The one in Governor's Harbor, I can speak more closer to that because that's in my constituency. But with the airport authority is the one that drives a lot of this, and then they would reach out to us. So we worked along with them for Cat Island, for Exuma, for Grand Bahama, for all of those. But we go on their advice and then we move forward with that, just like we do with other ministries. Ministry of Education wants to build a school, they send information to us, we provide them the technical advice, and then move forward with it. But they pay for it and everything.
Going back to the flooding, you spoke about some things that were done in the downtown area. What are the next steps for government now that this not hasn't worked, but we're still having some challenges, like you said, in Space Street?
Well, I think that when you look internationally, and I've traveled a little bit in my lifetime. When you internationally, you have a lot of rain, right? Areas flood. Areas, especially low-lying areas, flood. But when you look at downtown, you still had some flooding, but I guarantee you within a few hours, the water was gone. When prior to the cleaning, the water would stay there for half a day or something in that regard. I think that with climate change and the amount of flooding that we're seeing now, or that's been for some time, I think you continue to find innovative ways to do that. For example, we have something that we use on the drains now that stop water from coming back in once the water comes out. They call wall pro valves. So I think we continue with innovation. I think that's was a part of growing as a country. So maybe it didn't alleviate the flooding, but it helped the water subside. So, you know, we got some other areas, culverts down there we got to clean. The culverts that we cleaned months ago wasn't been touched in 50 years. So that's why the water subsides much quicker. So we got some other areas there that we have to correct. We got to clean out. And, you know, if that doesn't work, then we'll find some more innovative ways. But, you know, I think I wouldn't want to see, as the Minister of Works, or as the Minister of anything, that once you do this, you will not have flooding in New Providence. I mean, it's impossible for me to sell you a dream to say that you'll never have flooding anymore. And I think as Bahamians, I don't think that we recognize that. I think for us as a ministry, it's important for us to find innovative ways that's been used other countries to help the water to subside much more quickly, and you know, and maybe find something that's more that's worked in areas such as the UK or in areas in New Orleans that's below sea level. So we continue to do that. Of course, we have budget constraints, but we're doing what we can, and I think that throughout New Providence, I think people can appreciate that we've done a lot to help to alleviate some of these drainage solutions. And this app too, what I announced, I think would help alleviate some of that. Because some drains hasn't been tagged from the ministry in some time. Sometimes you find a drain that we didn't know we had. So this geotagging would be, even when my tenure as Minister of Works is over, the ministry will continue to have this geotagging software that they will be able to say that this drain has been cleaned, and you'll see some small things sometime or big wins.
Perhaps an amendment could be placed in the building code to prevent people from building on swamp water. That's a big issue because in the waters, even though we may clear it, or it may subside, but it still stays for a significant amount of days because there's nowhere for the water to go. Will there be an amendment, or is there any discussions to have that amendment to prevent people from building?
Well, I think the discussion is also an elevated building. So if you build on the beach, you know, you should be so much higher than sea level and things like that. The challenge is that a lot of the area in New Providence is swampland, and some of the homes is already constructed. I mean, currently we do that. So we monitor areas because you have to get approval from DAP now. So very seldom you'll see an approval to be built on swampland area without the proper protocols. I think the challenge for the ministry and the government is that homes that have been built in areas that were swampland decades ago, we're trying to correct a problem that we didn't create, but that's been there for some time.
With your ministry preparing to take the amended version of the Local Government Act to Parliament next week, are you able to say, I know the government would have promised that they would have created a local government or introduced local government to New Providence. Are you able to say if that will be in this?
No, the Local Government Act, and I've stated, I think, every time I spoke about local government in regards to how we operate through the Family Islands. My stance is to ensure that local government runs in a proper way in the Family Islands. Persons who live in the Family Islands understand the constraints of local government, where sometimes they pick up the slack of central government, where you hire a janitress or you do this, and funding is an issue. So one of the main driving force is to ensure that local government has revenue raising powers, where they are able to raise funding, where central government can't provide the funding to do some things that they want to do, to mold their communities, to do some initiatives. They'll be able to do that now. So my stance has always been that local government in the Family Islands needs to live up to its full potential before you look at introducing something that wouldn't properly function in New Providence, and you'd have more chaos. Maybe the idea is novel, but the idea is to ensure that the local government in the Family Islands is functioning in the way that it should.
You can say that probably won't happen
The Local Government Act is going to Parliament next week. We are going to strengthen local government in the Family Islands, and once we see how that operates, then you can look at providing a different model, because persons have a different view on what local government in New Providence should or would look like. So my goal is to ensure that it functions properly before you bring something to New Providence that creates chaos more than solutions.
You able to just say for sure, like, how long was the consultation timeline? I know you had spoken about this.
Yeah, the consultation took about a year, where we had a 19-member committee of persons from around the Family Islands, from each constituency, play a role in that. We had 2 consultants hired at local government to ensure that they did what they had to do. And so once after that consultation was done, so we ensured we consulted with all local governments throughout the country. So they played a role in crafting this bill. So this bill is for them, by them. Anything else? We're good? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister, and we hope it's not this long before the next time we see you. Thanks again. Any further questions?
You able to say, I know the Prime Minister would have put out a statement in regards to the ruling. You able to say maybe how long the review is going to be?
The short answer is no. I can't place a timeline on that or add anything further to what's been said. The Attorney General will conduct a review, and any decisions and talk about what the implications may be will flow from that review to be undertaken by the Attorney General. I wouldn't put a timeline on it, no.
I know the Prime Minister is in Samoa for children right now. Can you just give us kind of an update on what sorts of things he'll be discussing, when he'll be speaking, such as that nature?
Well, there are several meetings that the Prime Minister will be engaged in. Of course, the heads meetings and many meetings on the sidelines. And I can tell you that they will most certainly include the issue of climate change, which, of course, the Prime Minister has identified as one of his priorities, and he continues to promote wherever world leaders assemble. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you again for coming, and have a good afternoon.